The Christmas tree glowed, its lights dancing like secrets in the dark. My mom knelt before my son, her hand shaking as she pressed a velvet box into his small palms. He opened it, a locket gleaming with a stranger's face inside. Her voice broke the silence. "This is your real grandfather, Tommy. Not the one your mom's been lying about." Tears burned my eyes as the room spun, every ornament mocking my shattered world. My name is Karen, and this is how Christmas night tore my life apart. The fire hissed in the corner, spitting embers like accusations. Snow piled high outside, sealing us in this moment of betrayal. My 6-year-old Tommy sat on the rug, his dinosaur pajamas bunched up, his face alight with wonder as he clutched the locket. The room smelled of pine and roasted chestnuts, but the warmth felt hollow now, like a stage set for a play gone wrong. My husband, Mark, leaned back on the couch, his phone forgotten in his hand, confusion creasing his brow. My mom, Clara, stood by the tree, her silver hair catching the glow, her festive sweater clashing with the gravity of her words. She looked at me, defiant, unapologetic, as if she'd just handed Tommy a toy truck, not a grenade. "Who's this man, Grandma?" Tommy asked, his voice small but curious, fingers tracing the locket's engraving. Clara knelt closer, her smile soft but sharp. "His name was Robert, sweetheart. He was someone very special." Before everything changed, Mark sat up, voice tight. "Clara, what's this about?" I couldn't breathe. The locket, I'd hidden it years ago, buried in an attic box with memories I'd sworn to forget. How had she found it? Why now on Christmas, when the world was supposed to be joy and tinsel? My mug slipped, cocoa splashing across the floor like dark blood. "Mom," I hissed, barely audible. "Stop it." She didn't. She looked at Tommy, her voice steady. "Your mom told you about Grandpa Joe, didn't she? The one who fixed cars and loved you so much. But Robert, he's part of your story too." The air grew thick, suffocating. Tommy's eyes darted to me, wide and searching. "Mommy," Mark stood, his chair scraping. "Karen, what's going on?" I forced a smile, my throat burning. "It's just an old keepsake, buddy." Grandma's confused, but she wasn't. Clara's eyes locked on mine, a challenge. The room felt like it was closing in, the twinkling lights now glaring, accusing. It started 20 years ago, though the roots went deeper, tangled in the lies of my childhood. I grew up in a quiet Vermont town where winters were brutal and secrets clung like frost. Clara, my mom, was the town's favorite teacher. Warm, patient, always baking for neighbors. Dad, Joe, the man I called Dad, was a mechanic, gruff but reliable, his hands always stained with grease. They'd married young, built a life. I was their princess, sheltered, loved. But there were hints, whispers at family dinners, Mom's late nights, working, Joe's silences that grew heavier each year. When I was 12, Joe died. Black ice, a crashed truck, a tragedy that broke us. Mom wept at the funeral, but at home she seemed unburdened, like a weight had lifted. Years later in college, I found the truth. In the attic, a dusty trunk held the locket and letters. Love notes from Robert, Mom's old flame, a teacher like her. The dates overlapped with her marriage to Joe. One letter, written before my birth, called me our daughter. Joe wasn't my father. Robert was. I confronted Mom, my voice raw with betrayal. "How could you hide this?" She'd collapse into a chair, admitting everything. Robert was her first love, but Joe offered stability. When she got pregnant with me, she chose Joe, passing me off as his. Robert left town. Scandal or shame, she wouldn't say. "It was for you," she'd sobbed, "for our family." I buried the locket and the truth, swearing never to tell. I moved on, married Mark, had Tommy, built a life. Joe became the hero grandpa in Tommy's bedtime stories, a myth I crafted to shield him, until tonight. Clara sat back now, hands folded, as if she'd just shared a recipe. Tommy dangled the locket, confused but fascinated. "Is this true, Mommy?" Mark guided him upstairs, his voice gentle. "Let's get you to bed, champ." Maybe Santa left one last treat. As their footsteps faded, I turned to Mom, my whisper venomous. Why would you do this? To him? Her eyes didn't waver. He deserves the truth, Karen. You've hidden it too long. Secrets. They poison everything I paste. The Christmas lights mocking me. You had no right. He's my son, and you're my daughter, she said, softer now. Robert was a good man. His memory deserves to live, Mark returned, demanding answers. I spilled it all, the letters, the lies, the pain I'd carried like a splinter under my skin. He listened, his hand on mine, eyes wide. Why keep this from me? It hurt too much, I admitted, tears falling. I wanted Tommy to have a clean story, not this mess. The fire dimmed, embers glowing like fading hopes. Mom watched us, silent, the velvet box empty on the table. Later in bed, Mark held me as I stared at the ceiling. Tommy slept down the hall, the locket under his pillow. I felt it, a spark igniting old wounds, threatening to burn us all. Morning came, snow blanketing the world. Tommy bounded in, the locket around his neck. Mommy, tell me about the man in the picture. I hugged him, stalling. Later, sweetie. Let's open one more gift, downstairs. Clara sipped coffee, humming carols like nothing had happened. Mark watched her warily, the air thick with unspoken words. Family arrived for leftovers, cousins, aunts, oblivious to the storm brewing. Tommy showed off the locket, proud. It's from my other grandpa. Heads turned. Whispers started. Aunt Susan pulled me aside. Another grandpa? Karen, what's this? I laughed it off, my voice brittle. Just an heirloom. Mom's being nostalgic, but anger simmered. Why expose Tommy? Why now? In the kitchen, I cornered Clara. You should have told me first. Privately, she chopped carrots, her knife steady. You've dodged this for years. Tommy deserves his history, and Robert... He reached out. My heart stopped. Reached out? He's alive, she said, eyes meeting mine. In California. He wants to meet you. And Tommy. The knife slipped, a bead of blood staining the cutting board. This was my way to start healing, she said. Healing? It felt like sabotage. I grabbed my coat, storming outside. Snow crunched under my boots, the cold biting my face. Memories flooded. Joe's laughter, his calloused hands teaching me to ride a bike. Then the letters, the betrayal. Clara had stolen my truth. Back home, Mark and I argued softly. We need a plan, he said. This can't just linger. I'll handle her, I vowed, but doubt gnawed. Another package arrived that night, postmarked California. Inside, a letter. Dear Karen, I've waited too long. Let's meet. Your father, Robert. My hands shook. Clara's gift wasn't just a locket. It was a key to a door I'd locked tight, and now it was swinging open. The airport hummed, a chaos of hellos and goodbyes. I stood by the arrivals gate, Tommy's hand sweaty in mine, as a man with gray hair and hauntingly familiar eyes emerged. Clara was beside him, her smile a mask over decades of lies. Karen, he said, voice breaking like thin ice. My daughter. Tommy tugged my hand, curious, as my world tilted. This stranger, my father, stepping into our lives. I hadn't wanted this meeting. After Clara's bombshell, nights were restless, arguments with Mark Sharp. What if he's sincere? Mark pressed, stacking dishes after dinner. Tommy could have more family. I slammed a plate down. Or more chaos. Clara started this. Now she's forcing a reunion? But Tommy's questions, his drawings of Grandpa Robert, wore me down. Fine, I told Clara. One meeting, public place, no promises. So here we were, February's chill seeping through the terminal windows. Clara had insisted on joining. To ease things, she claimed. Tommy bounced, excited for the new grandpa, clutching the locket like a treasure. Robert approached, his suitcase rattling, his coat creased from the flight. He knelt to Tommy first. You're Tommy, huh? I've heard you're quite the adventurer. Tommy grinned, showing the locket. Grandma gave me this. It's yours. Robert's eyes glistened. It is. I'm glad it's with you now. He stood facing me. Our hug was stiff, cautious. Thank you, he whispered. Clara watched, pleased, but I felt like a pawn in her game. We drove to a cafe, the car quiet except for Tommy's chatter. Over hot chocolate, Robert shared his story. Leaving town after Clara chose Joe, writing novels in California, never marrying, always wondering. I sent letters, he said, glancing at Clara. But your mom thought distance was best. Clara nodded. For Karen's sake. I gripped my mug, knuckles white. So why now? He leaned in. I'm not young anymore. I want to know my daughter. My grandson. He smiled at Tommy, who was doodling on a napkin. Lunch stretched on, stories flowing. Tommy hung on Robert's words. Tales of sailing, of riding under starry skies. We agreed to dinner at our house, a tentative step. At home, Mark met us, reading my tension. How'd it go? Strange, I said. He's kind, but it's too much. Dinner was lively. Robert's stories, Tommy's giggles, Clara's nostalgic additions. Mark thawed, laughing along, but in bed I whispered, what if this is Clara's guilt talking? Mark kissed me. Or a fresh start. Robert stayed a week, then another. He took Tommy to the park, read him stories. Bonds grew, fragile but real. I watched, torn, grateful for Tommy's joy, wary of the past. Then, one snowy afternoon, Robert came over alone. We sat on the porch, steam rising from our tea. There's more, he said, voice low, about why I left. My stomach twisted. Clara said it was her choice. He shook his head. Joe found out about us. Threatened me. My job, my life. Said he'd ruin me if I stayed rage-flared. Joe? My dad? He loved Clara. But he wasn't gentle about it. I left to protect you all. The words hit like a slap. Joe, my hero, a bully? It rewrote everything. That night I confronted Clara. Robert there. Why hide this? She sighed, eyes tired. Joe changed after. Became the father you loved. I didn't want to ruin that more lies. The conflict deepened, pulling me between truths. Tommy flourished, showing off new tricks Robert taught him. But town gossip spread. Old scandals resurfaced. Neighbors whispered. Relatives called. Aunt Ellen cornered me. Robert's back after everything? He's family. I snapped, but her words lingered. Be careful, Karen. There's more to his leaving, I dug online, finding old articles, vague mentions of a disgraced teacher. Doubt grew. One night, Tommy drew a family picture. Me, Mark, Clara, Joe in the sky, Robert smiling. Now I have two grandpas. His joy broke me. Clara's gift had opened wounds I couldn't close. The snow fell heavier, blanketing the town in silence. I sat in the attic, old letters scattered around me, each one a dagger from the past. Clara's voice echoed downstairs, laughing with Tommy. But the articles I'd found painted Robert as a man who ran from more than just love. My phone buzzed with his text. Karen, we need to talk. There's something you don't know. My heart sank, the locket's weight in my hand a reminder every truth came with a cost. I'd been digging for days, unable to stop. The articles were sparse but damning. A teacher accused of misconduct, leaving town abruptly. No charges, no proof, just rumors. Was this Robert? The man charming my son? I confronted Clara the next morning, letters in hand. Did you know about these allegations? Her face paled. They were lies, Karen. Joe spread them to drive Robert out. Why didn't you tell me? She looked away. I wanted you to see the good in him. Distrust grew. Robert's visits continued, but I watched him closer. Tommy adored him, but I saw shadows in his stories. Gaps, hesitations. One evening, he arrived unannounced, his face drawn. Karen, I know you've been searching. I froze, Tommy playing nearby. What's the truth, Robert? He sighed. There was a student, a misunderstanding. Joe used it to force me out. I was innocent, I wanted to believe him, but doubt lingered. Clara backed his story, but her eyes held secrets. The breaking point came at Tommy's school play. Robert attended, clapping proudly. Parents whispered, recognizing him. Afterward, a teacher pulled me aside. Is that Robert? There were stories back then. I snapped. Storming home, Clara was there, babysitting. No more, I said. He's not seeing Tommy until I know everything. She begged, don't shut him out. But I did. For weeks I avoided Robert's calls. Tommy cried, missing him. Mark urged me to reconsider, but I couldn't. Then, a letter arrived. Robert's handwriting. I'm leaving soon. Please, one last meeting. Against my better judgment, I agreed. At the cafe, he looked older, broken. I should have fought harder back then, he said. For you. Tears fell. I saw Tommy in his eyes, and my heart cracked. The cafe was quiet, the snow outside muffling the world. Robert sat across from me, his hands trembling around his coffee cup. I never stopped loving you, he said, voice raw, but the locket in my pocket felt like a lie. Every word he spoke pulling me toward truth, or deeper into deception. I leaned forward, my whisper fierce. Tell me everything, or you'll never see my son again. Robert confessed. Joe's threats, the false accusations, his shame. I ran to protect you, he said, but I lost you anyway. I believed him, barely. We met again, with Tommy, under my rules. Bonds rebuilt, slow and cautious. Clara apologized. Admitting her guilt drove her Christmas act. Months later, Tommy hugged Robert, calling him Grandpa. I forgave, but scars remained. What would you do if this happened to you? Tell me in the comments. Thank you for watching The Wordy Revenge. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tales of betrayal, justice, and redemption. Until next time, stay strong and never stop believing in your truth.